Cops fatally shoot a woman in crisis after the family called 911. Does that sound familiar? Let's bring you the details. But first, I want you to watch this.
Hey, is it you? You had a knife?
No, it's not.
So who is it? Who's dealing with this? Who has that knife?
It's my sister.
Who's dealing with the mental health crisis? Who's having a nervous breakdown right now?
It's my sister. Yeah, Tanya.
Who's the problem? Your sister or you?
My sister. I'm not waiting for a sister.
Wait, hold on. Don't. Stop. She has a knife. She's gonna hurt. We gotta go.
Like you to open my door.
Open the door. Open the door. I want to break the door down.
Go ahead, I'll stab you in the neck.
Sir, let me fix it. Yes,
We don't want to shoot you.
Who wants to go less lethal? Who wants to go lethal?
I'll go lethal, okay?
David, yeah, David.
Alright, give me someone else not lethal.
We want to break the door down, ma'am.
Back off.
Open the door!
Door. No weapon.
We're gonna break the door. Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Put the knife down!
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Where's the knife? Where's the knife? Drop.
That was a condensed version for you. Disturbing.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Let's give you more. Per NPR, moments before a police officer fatally shot 25-year-old Victoria G. Lee in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Body cam footage shows a group of officers yelling out, "Drop the knife," and "Drop the weapon," as Lee throws a large water jug at them. Then a gunshot is fired. On Friday, the New Jersey Attorney General's office, which is investigating the shooting, released Taser video, body cam footage from 4 officers, and 2 911 recordings from the July 28th shooting. See more of the still frames here. The release comes after weeks of public outrage over how a 911 call seeking medical help for Lee. His family said he was experiencing a mental health crisis, turned deadly within minutes after police arrived. Shooting took place in a city with a prominent Asian American and Korean population. On Saturday, the Fort Lee Police Department did not respond to requests about the employment status of the officer who fired the fatal shot, Tony Pickens Jr. Body cam footage shows Pickens arriving first at the apartment complex around 1:25 a.m., where he questioned Lee's brother about who had a knife and who was experiencing a mental health crisis. Lee's brother identified his sister and blocked the door, but Pickens moved him aside, warning that someone could get hurt by Lee. Despite Lee's mother and sister telling him not to enter, Pickens continued knocking as more officers arrived. Again, you have to not just consider the final moments, but leading up to that. What is your training when dealing with someone who's having an emotional or mental health crisis? What is your training? Eventually, Pickens announced they would break down the door, which they proceeded to do, to the presence of another person with Lee. Footage and call recordings shed light on the family's repeated efforts to prevent escalation. In a second 911 call, Lee's brother told emergency responders that he wanted to cancel his request to send help because his sister was holding a foldable knife. At the scene, body cam footage showed Lee's mother begging officers not to come inside as Lee became visibly more upset. Again, NPR filling in the details here. There's more. Lee's family was not able to be reached for comment on Saturday, but in a statement written earlier this month, provided by their attorney, the family said, "The pain and grief our family is experiencing are beyond words. Victoria was a bright and loving individual with a promising future, and her untimely death has left a void that can never be filled." According to her family, Lee had bipolar disorder, which is not a crime. If you have diabetes, doesn't mean you did something wrong. You have heart disease. I don't know that you did something wrong. Brain cancer, bipolar disorder. It's an illness. She'd been managing to work through it, the family said, traveling, playing music on the night of her death. She was demonstrating odd behavior like shouting and rolling on the bed, which led her mother to suggest Lee seek medical help. Family added that Lee was never a violent person, even in previous episodes of mental distress. Her family also felt the presence of police upset Lee. When officers arrived, they did not consult with the family. Get out of the way, they told the brother. She could hurt someone. You had time to listen. You had time to listen. Make contact with the people inside. They did not consult with the family about the safest course of action and handle the situation aggressively. Let's talk about the 911 call, what the recording reveals. Lee's brother made 2 911 calls, as we said, after 1 a.m., July 28th. First call, Lee's brother tells the dispatcher that his sister was having a mental crisis and his family wanted to take her to the hospital, which are partially bleeped out. Dispatcher replies that they would send over an ambulance and officers. Just an ambulance is fine, he says. It's a mental health. We have to send officers also for the safety of the ambulance, the dispatcher says. Second call to 911. Lee's brother asked to call off the request for help. Seems the family did not want police there, and appears they knew that initially. The dispatcher says mental health calls cannot be canceled. There shortly. When asked why he wanted to cancel, Lee's brother responds that his sister was holding a knife inside the apartment. Lee later tells the dispatcher that the knife is a foldable knife and his sister was not threatening anyone with it. Taser video showed a small pocket knife on the hallway floor after Lee was shot.
Such a small knife.
We got to get into the training here. We got to get into the response and the level of the response based on the other circumstances. When the door opens, Lee's mother can be seen holding Lee's left hand back. Officers can be heard yelling, "Drop the knife!" Lee flings a large plastic jug of water using her other hand and steps forward before she walks out of the apartment. Okay. Pickens fires a shot into Lee's chest. She falls to the ground as her mother cries and holds Lee. This is gut-wrenching. Pickens and officers pull Lee out into the hallway. They attempt to stop the bleeding using towels. Her mother asks in Korean if Lee will be okay, and they say in English to the officers, "Please, please." One point, Lee yells, "I can't breathe." She was later transported to Inglewood Hospital, where she was pronounced dead at 1:58 a.m. Pronounced dead. 1:58 a.m. So in under an hour, when her brother calls and says, "Please send someone, we want to get her to the hospital." 58 minutes later, she's dead. We always get hit with this, there you go. Have you ever been trained? You're second guessing an officer. How dare you, Sharon? You've never worn a badge. You've never had your life in danger daily on the job. But it doesn't have to be either or, does it, Jackson? Why can't we have a common sense conversation and approach to this?
Well, I mean, because largely it's the point. Upholding their authority is the point. It's the culture of being the big bad police officers. And when you see that knife, a folding knife like that, really, I mean, like, you're so much more likely to hurt yourself trying to take somebody out with that. Sure, you can do some damage, but keep in mind, these police officers have on bulletproof vests. They have on armor. Like, where is she going to stab you? And again, a folding knife, if you like hold it like this or go like, you're probably going to drop it or slip it and cut yourself. It might fold in half. Like, it's very difficult to really do some mortal damage to somebody with something like that. Not only do they have all this, all this body armor, but there's a lot of them. Where was the taser? Why couldn't you tase her? Why did you have to just shoot her as soon as the door opened? Like, but this is stuff that we see constantly. I think really, gun violence and police violence are 2 of the most unanswered issues in the country that we see constantly, whether it be people running up in schools, shooting, running up in some type of supermarket, a nightclub, and then this, people call for help and it's like, oh, we're going to show up and we're just going to shoot you as soon as you get there. I mean, other than getting involved in our local elections, I really don't see how this is going to change. And the biggest issue with that too is all these municipalities. I mean, there can't really be some type of mass federal change to this unless the House and the Senate passes something, and good luck with that anytime soon.
Yep.
So it's like, in a lot of ways, this isn't going to change. And I hate to say it, but unless it's municipality by municipality by municipality, this won't stop. Like, it's not going to stop.
It's got to be
and that's a
forced.
massive issue.
It's got to be forced change. And you're right.
Yeah.
It has to start with us, what we will not tolerate anymore. It has to start with a litmus test for candidates. Where do you stand on this? And will you push this through? It has to start with disbanding police agencies like the one in Ferguson. I was there when Michael Brown was gunned down, shot dead by Officer Darren Wilson, who was never charged. Remember, they put the victim on trial. So I don't know if that was fair or not. They had about 6 to 8 officers in this little tiny, Ferguson is maybe, I don't even know if it's the size of the block I live on. The police were there writing tickets and jailing people in a debtor's prison to support their very existence. Now, if you have to treat the people that you are there to, quote, serve and protect in that way as your survival, they didn't need a police department. They didn't even need one. They should have joined with another municipality, had the county take over. I don't know. But the fact that I just said to you, we can just use an old headline, but it's a brand new case, means there is a problem, a deadly problem. And look who's always dying. I shouldn't say always, far too often. People aren't trained properly. If somebody says we're in distress here, send the officers who know how to deal with a mental health illness. You can't, on the one hand, say we're having a mental health episode, which means you may not be fully in touch with reality. Your emotions may be overtaking you, some mental issue, bipolar, and then expect her to behave in a way that someone who doesn't have a mental health issue would behave. Drop the knife or we'll shoot you. It's just make it make sense. I don't want police officers hurt. The mother has one hand, presumably the one with the folded knife, a water jug. And by the way, you mentioned all their body armor and the fact that they were in large numbers. They outnumbered the family at this point. Don't they also carry many times, and if not, they should, these shields? They keep these shields in their trunks.
They got pepper spray.
That part. You could have opened fire, center mass. That's what we're taught at the academy. What if you would have missed and killed the mom? She may wish that she had gone with her daughter after holding her and cradling her in her final moments and having to watch that after pleading, please don't hurt her. The little brother who just doing the right thing. I just want to get my sister help. Just want to get her help. Oh, we got to come. Taser, we got to protect from protection. Really? Wow.